Stephen Gordon, you radiate a wonderful glee. Being that we all have off days, have you ever had to fake due to the expectations of others? Absolutely. That's just called being a person. You totally have to fake you have to fake your affect on some days, and in some situations more than others. And I am absolutely just like anybody else in that I have up days and down days. I am a person prone to some depression, absolutely. And I wouldn't say faking it. I would say using extra energy to get there. Because that's really what it takes. It takes extra energy to be there when you're not feeling it, or when you've got something really big going on in your life that's taken up a lot of your mental processing cycles. Yeah, there's no way in which I escape from that more than anybody else does. Yeah, absolutely. Those were some really particularly rough days. When I was first doing MythBusters, just as the last story, when I was first doing MythBusters, I was in the middle of a long, drawn-out legal battle with someone that took up a lot of time, my ex-wife. It took up a lot of time and energy. And there was definitely some days in the early shooting of the show where I was just scraped by life, just like rendered really thin, like no filters, no protection against anything. But there was something, and when you shoot a show like we did for that long, your crew is an extended members of your family. You all know each other in an abiding way. And so my affect on those days would be quite low behind the camera. And then when the camera was rolling, I'd bring it. And there was actually a sweet grace to those days. Because the crew understands what I'm going through. I'm not taking it out on anybody. I'm just like reserving all the energy that I have for the camera and letting the other stuff go. And then, at the end of the day, I'm dealing with my own life. Charles M. says, did rental companies worry that they might not get their stuff back when the MythBusters crew showed up? For example, concrete barriers used for keeping Caltrans workers safe. Those are called K-rails. And look, those companies, they rent stuff out, it gets hurt, and they have insurance for that. And so do we. And we never hid what we were going to do with stuff. And I think if we were going to harm K-rails, there was some, Tori, Carey, and Grant did more of the smashing cars into K-rails than Jamie and I did. I know there was a few in which they really decimated a couple, but I believe that we were up front at the beginning that there may be a replacement cost. Most of the time, we actually had really nice bulk discount deals with our rental companies. And there was a local one that we used for years where we sort of got a package deal because we gave them so much business. But no one was like, oh, here those guys come. We set our expectations properly. Clyde M. says, how do you reconcile the creation process with the amount of waste that goes into the creation process? I struggle with that. Absolutely. I struggle with that. Jamie struggled with it. We struggled with it on the show. We worked hard to really recycle when we had episodes that involved food that we were destroying. We really set up things so that every bit of excess we had would go someplace where it could be eaten. We did a lot of recycling. Somebody else asked me about rags, about my surgical rags. I buy these on Amazon, and they've been used once in an operating theater, and then they're sterilized, and you can buy them. And they're spectacular shop rags because those red rags that you can buy, or the colored rags that you can buy at AutoZone or Harbor Freight, whatever they are, the colored rags, they are the worst things. They're awful. They leave stuff, they leave their color. If you took a rag and made it wet and rubbed this table, you'd see a red streak. Horrendous. These do not do that. They actually have barely any lint. But you're asking about the waste of creation, and I'll tell you, this is, I still haven't thrown this one out. Oh God, it It smells so good. It smells like grease and engine oil and all sorts of stuff. I still haven't thrown this out. This is still useful to me. I'm I get dumbly thrifty in here. And in order just to be able to maintain the space, I have had to a couple of times increase the size of stuff that I'm willing to keep so that I have a threshold of stuff that goes into the scrap bin for other folks to pick and pull from. I am thrifty in the extreme with my material usage, and it's specifically from the scarcity model of being young. And you know, when I love pointing this out, but when you're young and you're starting out, materials are your expense, are your high expense item, and your time is cheap. Your time as a young person is cheap to almost free, and you can use the low expense of your own time in place of skill where you need to. Later on, that will invert completely, and materials will be the cheapest line item on your budget, and your own salary will be the most expensive, or other salaries that you pay. And the long tail of being a thrifty young person where materials were hard to come by still continues to this day, to my detriment. And I do a lot of stuff where I just keep buckets of stuff around the shop that I want to gift to somebody. Like up front, there's a lot of tools, and when people with shops come through, I'm like, go through these tools, see if there's anything that's useful to you. I've got this whole stack of threaded rivets to send to Laura Kampf because she was here recently. So I deal with the waste involved in making stuff by being thrifty with my materials, maximizing their use. I keep lots of scrap, and I give a lot of stuff away. Yeah, I actually just sent my vacuum former down to some friends with a shop because I use it once every 5 years, and I think they'll get a lot more use out of it. Ian Rigby wants to know about new materials coming into the shop. The other day, he was watching a video where I was machining brass, and I described brass as grippy. And Ian was wondering, when you work with a new material on the lathe, do you research it and its properties, or do you just go for it and trust to the experience? I definitely don't just go for it and trust to the experience, but I do both. I do read up on it. It's funny, brass has always been called grippy, but when you're working with small brass, it's not that grippy. It's not until you get to bigger chunks of brass that it gets gummy and grippy as it's described. So there was always a part of me that was like, I'm not sure brass is that grippy until I made that giant nut and bolt. So I'm in the process right now of learning a new material. I am making something here. I'm holding up a piece of an ongoing project, and I haven't revealed at all that I'm thinking about this project. It's not a sword, but this is a piece of 304 stainless. And this material needs a chamfer, not a bevel, it needs a chamfer. Chamfer is just a bevel that doesn't go to the edge. It needs a chamfer, a 45-degree chamfer, and I have put one on here, but 304 stainless is notoriously unpleasant to machine with. Stainless doesn't work harden the way normal steel work hardens because its crystalline structure can't be adjusted in the same way. And yet 304 stainless does somehow work harden, or it sort of surface case hardens. There's some specific, I'm sure in the comments someone will explain this to me, but 304 stainless is famous for being resistant to a really nice finish. And I actually went and bought a, is it visible there? No, it's over there. Never mind. I went and bought a tool for chamfering this, a handheld air tool that my friend Kevin Binkert was telling me. You wouldn't believe it because it's like 50 bucks on Amazon, but it actually does great. And you'll get to see me use that tool on this because I got a pretty good chamfer that I had to go finish with a file. And so there, that is like, I knew I was getting this piece water cut out of 304 stainless. I was hoping for like 400 series stainless, but for some reason that's much harder to find in sheet form. It could be that no one makes it in sheet form. I just don't know enough about stainless steel. So I had to get this done in 304, and I consulted with my friend who was cutting it, and then I read a bunch of articles on Practical Machinist and some other forums about working with 304 stainless and what kind of bits, what kind of flutes, what kind of feeds and speeds. And then after reading all of that and kind of feeling like I've got an idea, then I went and got the $50 air tool with inserts, and I started on the backside of this, which I knew would not get seen. And I mucked with it on the backside until I got something I kind of liked. And then I thought, okay, I can try doing this for real. If I had to recut this, I can, but I can rescue a lot of mistakes with a thin strip like this. And I did. That is absolutely, and actually I'm also experimenting with another new process right now in the cave, which is metal spinning. And I'm not going to reveal too much. There will be a video about it, but hilariously, I don't know if it's hilarious, but I had to do a lot of the early problem solving with metal spinning without the camera rolling. There's a certain amount of there's just times when I don't want to roll the camera because I just don't want to be thinking along another thought line. But basically, I made one piece and I spun it, a shallow piece, and it went really well. But the second piece I have to spin, that's the profile. It's a deep profile. There's my first attempt. I made a crappy symbol. One thing that I'm really impressed by about spinning copper is, well, copper is weird. Copper anneals, i.e. it softens in an opposite way to all other metals. With copper, you heat it till it's orange hot, and then you dunk it in water. You rapidly cool it, and that makes it soft. And I mean really soft, like impressively soft. I was really surprised how soft you can get copper. And you spin other metals, but copper is without a doubt, I think, the best one to spin. Somebody asks me later in one of the other questions if doing something badly throws me off my game. And yeah, it absolutely does. Spending time setting this up and ending up with this is not fun. And I'm sort of dreading the next one. I went back and I watched a couple of videos. I watched people doing this thing. I've got the right tools. I've got the right setup. It's just, I can't feel the metal yet, so I'm going to do a few more of these before I get to something that's useful. Part of it is that I have to sort of muscle past that unpleasantness of screwing up expensive parts. Copper isn't cheap. This is 1 millimeter copper, 040. And yeah, it's spendy. I don't like wasting it. I'm not going to waste it. I'll cut out the parts I need from this, but yeah, it's a process. But to me, it absolutely has to go between theory and practice. I have to, after reading enough, I have to go try something, and then I come back to understanding. Better how to integrate what I've been reading with the reality. Because I'm sure that people who call brass grippy don't think about the fact that they work within a certain size profile. But each one of us learning this stuff on our own has to figure out where the parameters apply to us and where they don't. Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today, and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to tested membership, and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.